Hello, everyone. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And we are reading Conversations with God, Book 4, Awaken the Species by Neil Donald Walsh. And we are on Chapter 21. And if you have the book, it's page 124. And let's just go ahead and start reading. And the first chapters really, or the 21st chapters, very short. So we might not, yeah, we might just keep going, unless something earth-shaking pops off of these two pages.
Okay.
Okay, so Linda, go ahead and start, and everybody go on mute unless you're talking.
Okay, chapter 21. This is Neil speaking. I think that deserves and requires more explanation, a closer exploration. But I'd like to move now to item 16 and come back to this later, because there seems to be something really important for us to look at in this final item from the list, and the two may bear some relationship to each other. Item 16 tells us that an awakened species has harnessed the power of metaphysics. Humans in an unawakened state often largely ignore it. To what are we referring here? What's being said in this item is that the scope and breadth of universal wisdom and creative metaphysical power is largely unused by humanity. I'm going to ask you again here, as I have done before. Can you give me an example? Yes, you said yourself a little while ago that a man named Emil Kuh proved the effectiveness of autosuggestion in the early part of the 20th century. Well, he proved it to his satisfaction anyway. You don't believe his results? Well, I believe them, yes, but not everyone might agree. The question here is, since you yourself say you believe in this process, do you use it? Have you used it as a tool in dealing with your own physical limitations, ailments? Well, not regularly, no. Wait, I have to be truthful here. That would be good. I've never used it. I believe that the energetic power of the mind can affect the energetic signature of cells within the body. We've talked about this exact possibility, but no, I've never used the Kuh method to address any of my physical ailments or conditions. Case closed. Well, I guess our human society is not ready on a grand scale to grapple with metaphysics, to deal with what some have called alchemy, and to rigorously apply what so many have called the power of positive thinking. Some individuals and some spiritual groups, relatively small as a proportion of the whole of humanity, have done it. But I'm seeing what you're saying now. As a civilization, we've not come anywhere near to harnessing the power of metaphysics. No, the human race has not. It is, however, becoming more and more aware of it, and it is moving step by step in that direction. Yes, there was a movie and a book out a few years ago called The Secret, which talked all about the power that lies within us to create our own reality. And as an illustration of this, the movie showed a man finding the car of his dreams in the driveway, a woman suddenly noticing a diamond necklace adorning her bodice, and even a 9-year-old boy rejoicing over the shiny new bicycle just outside the back door. But I see that these are just our first baby steps. I couldn't help but wonder, if the secret was so powerful, why isn't it being used to create, say, world peace? This idea isn't even mentioned in the movie as a possible application, pretty much letting us know where the members of our species place world peace vis-a-vis new cars, diamond necklaces, and shiny new bikes on a scale of importance, or at least where the movie's producers assumed we'd place it. You could, of course, create world peace using basic metaphysics. Yes, my wonderful friend John Hagelin has traveled the globe making this point. A renowned quantum physicist, science and publicity policy expert, educator, and author, Dr. Hagelin offers us this from his online writings. Quote, most people don't know how deeply their consciousness is connected to the collective fate of the planet, or how they can use a powerful, scientifically tested technology of consciousness to help create world peace on Earth virtually overnight. More than 50 demonstration projects and 23 studies published in leading peer-reviewed journals have shown that this new consciousness-based approach to world peace neutralizes the ethnic, political, and religious tensions in society that give rise to crime, violence, terrorism, and war. The approach has been tested on local, state, national, and international levels, and it's worked every time, resulting in highly significant drops in negative social trends and improvements in positive trends. Large groups of peace-creating experts practicing these technologies of consciousness together dive deep within themselves to the most fundamental level of mind and matter, which physics calls the unified field. From that level of life, they create a tidal wave of harmony and coherence that can permanently alter society for the better, as the research confirms. And this consciousness-based approach is holistic, easy to implement, non-invasive, and cost-effective. You can see www.permanentpeace.org for more information. So the question is, what would it take for us to use this? Can I call it spiritual technology? What do you think? Nothing more than an awakening. Even just a beginning awareness of these things could get things started on a larger scale. I was struck by one of the video programs that John Hagelin made about all of this, which ends with this quote: "There is far more evidence that group meditation can turn off war like a light switch than there is evidence that aspirin reduces headache pain." There you have it. Tell everyone you know, and have them tell everyone they know. Metaphysics works. It's the linchpin of the universe. Highly evolved beings know this. Okay, thank you. That completes the overview on that list, and I found it to be very instructive. I do think, as I said, that our exploration of item 10 and some of the observations about death there deserve some explanation. Item 10 again. An awakened species would never, under any circumstances, terminate the current physical expression of another sentient being unless asked directly by that other being to do so. Humans in an unawakened state often kill other humans without that other human being requesting them to do so. This is not a subject I feel we can go over lightly, and I understand how now, if we can better use the power of metaphysics to deal with illness and other events, this could have a relationship to my death. But were you telling me that if I am murdered or killed in an accident by a reckless driver or whatever, that I have died because I chose to? Why would any soul choose to die? Well, the answer is as varied as there are souls in the universe. But you can be assured that each death serves the purpose of every soul in that moment, or it would not occur. Well, what about those of us left behind, mourning the loss? Do they take that into account? Surely they did. They've taken everything into account. And they do their very best to ease your pain of loss by helping you understand and experience that they have actually not died, but simply celebrated their continuation day. What do you mean experience? We can experience that they're still alive? Many people already know what I mean, if anyone close has celebrated their continuation day. Vast anecdotal evidence reveals that those who have passed on have found ways to make it clear to their surviving loved ones that they are still alive. Gosh, this dialogue is getting more and more out there. Actually, it's getting more and more in there. It's moving more and more into what you already know deep within you, but just may not have been able to fully or openly embrace, given the current cultural story of your very young species. But putting this all together then, I guess it wouldn't matter if aliens from other planets attacked us. If we didn't choose to die, we wouldn't and couldn't. No. You would create a manner and a means by which that would not be possible, such as, for instance, something or someone intervening. Ah, I see. The intervention of heaves, for instance. And this energy signature of what the soul chooses, or what you would call the superconscious will, works for you individually as well. If, as an individual, you have not chosen at a superconscious level to leave your physical form, you will not, even in the most treacherous or life-threatening circumstances. You may have what others will call a near miss, or a miraculous recovery, or an incredible escape, but you will not die. The superconscious will, that is, the demonstrated will of everyone in the collective, is the single and only influence affecting the embodying or disembodying of the collective and the individual. Superconscious will is the single and only influence affecting and the embodying and disembodying of individuals. This is how the energy of life works. It is the demonstrated collective superconscious will that it does not choose for the collective to be annihilated en masse or destroyed as a civilization. Well, now, I hate to argue with you here, but whole groups of people have died on this planet, and it has happened more than once. Are you saying that it's perfectly okay that this has happened because everyone wanted to die? I'm not saying that it was okay that it happened the way or at the time that it did. The choice to experience any event as okay or not okay is a choice for every person who is affected in any way by any event to make. I will never tell a person that their choice is right or wrong. Their choice is their choice, and it's not for me to judge. You don't judge anything, actually, do you? No. I know that in human terms, there may be many things that would understandably be defined as humans as not okay. And to call them anything else might even be considered unhealthy and cruel within the context of normal and appropriate human behavior. It is by this evidence that you establish the fundamental values of your civilization, even if you do not all live by them. But I don't make those assessments or evaluations because to do so would be to rob you of your freedom to create your own reality. What I'm saying here is that no human being's experience of what your species calls death can occur in violation of that person's individual superconscious will. And no civilization's experience of what your species calls total destruction can occur in violation of that civilization's collective superconscious will. You've made this point now repeatedly, but again, not to be argumentative, but doesn't saying such a thing give permission, in a sense, to those who would go on a rampage and kill others individually or, God help us, en masse, to serve their own twisted purpose? No. It gives comfort to those who would see others as having been victimized in such a situation. It allows those who have been left behind to find peace of healing, knowing that their loved ones are celebrating their continuation day, and has done so with full awareness of the choice they made, and even with full understanding and compassion for those who collaborated in their departure. As well, it may even actually stop someone who may feel no guilt about planning such a rampage, and then becomes aware of the information here, because it would rob the potential satisfaction of doing what they think is damaging to another, dissolving much of what might have been their motivation. I would have never thought of that. And there it is. Persons who go ahead and kill others anyway, individually or in a group, do not seek or need permission from something or someone outside of themselves to do so. They will have justified their actions on a basis entirely different from anything said here. Yes, but what they read here could help them feel okay about it. They already feel okay about it. Oh, hang on a second. Something just happened to my Kindle. Okay, hang on. Okay. They already feel okay about it, or they wouldn't have done it. You know, I can see how what's been said here might not fit into the overall understanding of many. I mean, what's been laid out here probably isn't going to mesh for the majority of people. So long as anyone experiences reality as a victim-villain scenario, it will not. But there are no victims and no villains in the world, or anywhere in the universe. There are only sentient beings, physically and metaphysically evolving and helping each other evolve. It is, as I have said to you previously, I have sent you nothing but angels. If you felt that you could significantly or would significantly shorten the evolutionary process of an entire species, that is, of billions, by allowing yourself to exit your physical body at a certain time in a certain way, would you do it? Don't think about your answer at the level of the mind. Think about it at the level of the soul. Well, when I think about it at the level of the soul, I realize that my existence cannot be threatened and my life cannot and will not end. So to simply change the form of my existence from the physical to the metaphysical, especially knowing that I can change it back again whenever I wish, knowing that billions would move forward in their evolutionary process because of it, makes it a very easy decision. I would see it as what I called earlier a burning bush moment. When you rush in to save the baby and your own physical survival is not even a part of your thought process, not a part of the equation. I would make whatever choice brings the greatest benefit to the largest number of my fellow sentient beings. Of course you would, because that's who you are. I wanted to tell you again that love is who you all are. It is because of this that you would actually forgive the person or group appearing to be the cause of your death, because you would realize that at a conscious level, they did not even know what they were doing. Then, when you moved into total awareness in the realm of pure being, if it does not happen before, you would abandon any need to forgive them, because forgiveness would be replaced with understanding. You would comprehend completely how a sentient being could or could not do such a thing. Well, you've told me in the past that understanding replaces forgiveness in the mind of the master. And so it does. All of these things would be experienced by you precisely because you are made up of the energy you call love, personified and magnified in the free will choices and decisions that you make, the understandings that you embrace, and the expressions of self that you place into the ongoing and simultaneous creation within the ultimate reality. You do not have to wait until you find yourself in the realm of pure being. This awareness may be embraced by you at any time. The continued expansion of your awareness is what evolution is all about.
Thank you. Does anybody want to make a comment or throw a question out there?
I just wanted to say something about the power of metaphysics, because that's the one that I find the most difficult, and I don't know if anyone has anything to say about that, because I don't totally understand it. I mean, I do understand how the power of people meditating together and praying together and putting positive thoughts out there can affect things, but I feel like there's something more in that one. Over.
Yes, Sarah, I agree. I don't quite understand it either, and I would love to understand it more. My thoughts were drawn in that last bit we were reading there about the guy who shot all those people from the hotel room. A few weeks back, we spoke about it before. So maybe on a soul level, that occurred, and other things similar are occurring recently. Maybe on a soul level, these things are occurring to move us forward, to bring this evolution about. It's bringing giving us more understanding. These things are happening to create more awareness in ourselves. Over.
And Linda, weren't you saying when the Las Vegas shooting that Angela just mentioned, weren't you saying something about that a couple of weeks back?
Yeah. It comes back also to what Neil and these books have talked about all along. There isn't anything that isn't an expression of divinity. And so that event was an expression of divinity. You have to get out of this third dimensional mindset and this idea that there's anything that's right or wrong. Everything just is. And it's the function of each of us when we can find, and these are some words that Neil doesn't use, but when we can find our way into being the witness instead of the participant in our life. So we're not our mind, we're not our body, we're the entity that can observe those things. And that entity that can observe those things is what never dies. The physical form may go, but it's that entity, and I don't know if it's what he's calling superconscious will at this point, but it's the entity that's in observer mode or in witnessing mode that is actually who we are. We're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not even what people think of spirit, because that's all tied up in this physical world. We're the observer, we're the witness. And so in any given moment, we have the opportunity to choose what the moment means to us. And it's when you get into that place that you can access the metaphysical world. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but.
It makes sense.
We want to judge, the society wants to judge. We're surrounded by judgments of things, and the way we're going to evolve into a new species is to let go of that and find our way to accepting that everything that happens is perfect in and of itself. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's perfect. It's how we react to it that makes it what it is for us.
It makes sense to me, and it makes me think of, I saw this video in the last couple days, and it's called Liberal Rednecks something or other. And it's this guy that's from the South, and he uses some colorful language.
Is it Trey Crowder?
It could be.
Okay. I just love him.
Well, he's funnier than heck. But he's got a strong message too. And his message was, you know, and I'm putting a little bit of words in his mouth, but this is what I took away from it, is that something happens over and over and over and over and over again. It's trying to give you a message, you know. And so he says, you know, look, my redneck friends, I like my guns just as much as anybody else likes their guns. But we've got to try something else because this is not working. And so I think if you think about that and you incorporate that with some things that Barbara Marx Hubbard says about the birthing process is painful. You know, any one of us who've had kids would never say it was a pain-free experience. But it was worth the labor in the end. And that's what that made me think of with this guy who did this video. Over.
I don't have to quote others to speak my own truths or things that I intuitively know. Getting to metaphysics. Metaphysics is that place where we create. I mean, you know, Edgar Cayce said that on all levels other than the conscious mind, thoughts are things. So in the metaphysical level, on that level where it's life itself, where what you think you create instantly, that to me is a pretty simple understanding of the basis of what metaphysics is and the power of it.
Are you done, Alton?
Yeah, I debated saying over, under, all around. Yeah. A quick sort of PS, though. I mean, I've been listening to Ed Asner and Ellen Burstyn and Neil Reed, Conversations with God, Book 1. It's available on YouTube. Just click on it, and they're beautiful the way they add emotion and present emotion and such. And one thing I was hearing recently is what you think, even with your conscious mind, what you think, think, add emotion to it, put it into words, think. Eventually you also create on the physical level. So it takes us longer, you know, most of us, other than great masters, it takes us quite some time to take energy, etheric energy, life forces, vibrational energy, whatever words you attempt to use, and cause them to solidify, cause them to materialize. So even with the conscious mind, and I've seen it in my own life, I've thought about things, desired things, and they've come to pass eventually. But apparently, and I believe this and I feel it, other than our conscious mind, other than the mind I'm using to speak right now, thoughts are things. So that's metaphysics to me in a nutshell. Thoughts are things. The creative thought energy instantly makes things happen. So collectively, our power is great to focus on things, and what we have a strong emotion about, we eventually materialize as an individual or as a race. Over.
Shabana, were you going to say something?
Yes, please. I'm just thinking about the local level, and my next door neighbor cannot stop whining about the death of his 6-year-old. I'm sorry, what are you laughing about, Kristen? I can't hear you, you're on mute.
No, it's just your delivery is so funny. I think it's gonna have to be a joke every time you speak. I'm not making fun of you though. I swear, I love you.
Oh, I love you too, but I don't know why, but I attract whiners. So he goes on and on and on about this 6-year-old son who died and grandson who died, and just the whole family. If you ever ask them anything, well, we've got 13 grandchildren, counting the one that died, right? And I'm just thinking that this is me whining about something or other. The blockage solidifies. Like it becomes hardened, packed in, will not move, because the prayer is a thought and the idiocy multiplies. And I got to thank this fellow for being so locked and off, because if I gave him a copy of the one page where we were talking about no one leaves unless they want to, and there's a purpose for this, and no one dies, right? Larry would no longer be our friend. That would be it. Because he's Catholic, and it's only this way, and that's the only way it is. And he says, you know, I'm doing all this work for these people because I'm hoping that they'll learn by example. And I'm thinking they're just taking advantage of the free labor. That's all it means to them. I don't know if anybody could give me an idea. I mean, he's trying to tell me what a hero he is, what a Catholic he is, and I'm just thinking you're wasting your time. I'm over. I'm dying to hear what Linda's got to say.
No, you may not want to know what I have to say. Why does it matter? So my first question is, why does it matter? Why does it matter to you how he is?
Because that's how I am. Like I've got the same blockages. You know, the same whining and all of that. And I'm watching him and thinking, ooh, that's why my blockages have lasted so long.
Okay. So, I think you're right on the mark when and loops back to the beginning of this whole conversation today, happening over and over again. They happen over and over again to give us, like in the case of the guns, society's being given an opportunity to learn something. And we're going to continue to have these kinds of experiences until we learn whatever that lesson is. Same thing. You have a neighbor who whines incessantly. It doesn't have anything to do with him. It has to do with you. What's the message there? And I think that one message might be that this evolution that we're talking about has to do with letting go of judgment of other people. It has to do with getting into our own beings and being our own divine beings. We are not going to, it is not possible to change anyone else. They change by their experiences. And so if we want somebody externally to change, somehow we have to become the petri dish for them. So in essence, what's being called upon for you to do, from what I can see, is to model the behavior that you value. So if whining is not a behavior you value, then don't model that. If he doesn't have anybody that's modeling whining to him, eventually he'll figure out that, gee, there are other people who have tragedies and have things that happen, and they don't whine. They do something else. And that's the only possibility for him changing, is through his own observation and experience that will trigger it.
Well, Linda, I am entirely grateful for your response. See, he's whining about a child that died, which is what we're talking about now. We're talking about death. I've been whining about, everything. All my life. And judgment is number one. Everyone out there's got a problem except moi. Okay. So the best I can do with Larry next door is get out of the way. Okay? I've got my problems. And thank you for teaching me a good lesson. Like, forget about me modeling anything. He's modeled enough. Thank you. Okay? So I'm moving upward and onward out of his range. Okay? So someone asked me to talk to him. I said, no. You talk to him. I'm not going there. Okay? So as far as I can tell, I'm trying to fix moi, finally, okay? Judgment and criticism. We're trying to give birth, like Nanette said. I don't agree with you, Nanette. I've given birth to children. It was very, very difficult, but this was a joy. Like, all I have to do is stay away from Larry and all my other friends, and I'm good. And it's not exactly breaking my heart. Okay, so this birth is a good one. That's all I've got to say. Over. And yes, I'm happy to hear you articulate, Linda. Why would I not want to learn? I've been in the pit so long. I'm out of there.
Good for you.
Yep. And I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I had a boss once that he did this, he goes, take that finger and point it at yourself. It's really stuck with me. It was a great lesson. Over.
Well, Larry's looking very good, as long as I don't go any closer. Like, thank you for teaching me. I'm out of here.
Well, I think too, and this is for all of us, is that we need to get out of our own way. It's like, if somebody really, this is for me, if somebody really, I just don't like their behavior or how they handle themselves, I do this kind of slow backing away. And because it can also be contagious. All behavior can be contagious. And it's whether we model the good, quote unquote, the good, or the not so good. And so it's being able to be confident enough with ourselves to say, it doesn't mean I don't care about this person or don't like them, but it just means I need to realize what's good for me so I can grow. Over.
Well, Nanette, you've given me a wonderful idea just now by what you said, because Larry, as a Catholic, thoroughly enjoys being a lamp unto the world, you know, a light unto the world. And I'll tell you, he was to me. So for my Christmas gift, I'm going to tell him that. I'm not going to tell him how, but you know, it's like looking at a road sign on the highway. How would I know which way to go? I have to look up at the green and white sign. Are they the same color in the States?
Yeah.
Green and white, right? So that's the idea, is I'll tell him, Larry, you've really succeeded, and I'm very grateful that your example has shown me the way.
And that would be a beautiful way. Yeah, that would be a beautiful way of doing it.
Well, that's his intention and his desire, and he's certainly succeeded. And I'm not going anywhere near him until I'm well enough to rub his little head and say, I love you, you know? But right now, I might get infected because we're the same.
I think that Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements, is one of the best and simplest tools to help, particularly if you're trying to break a habit of being judgmental. Because the one agreement of don't make assumptions, to me, feeds right into that. Because when we're making assumptions, we're being judgmental. And if we can just learn not to look at somebody else and decide why it is they did what they did or said what they said, because we don't really know. And then the other agreement is the realization that when other people speak, that it's a reflection of them. So not to take things personally. You know, that there's the four agreements are be impeccable with, and I don't know if they're in the right order, but be impeccable with your word, always do your best, don't make assumptions, and don't take things personally. And those two, the not making assumptions and not taking things personally, I think are two of the biggest helps to moving into an evolved state of being. Because most people are already trying to do their best, and a lot of people try to be impeccable with their word. But the making assumptions and the taking things personally are two traps that are right out there for us all the time. And I just think they're brilliant.
So do you think I'm making an assumption about him being wrong?
Mm-hmm. I think you've made assumptions. Well, I think you've made assumptions about him just based on the fact that he's Catholic. I mean, that in and of itself, that label brings all kinds of assumptions that go with it. And so, you know, so yeah, I think that to become, you know, this highly evolved being that we keep talking about, I think we have to individually come to a place where we stay in the now, we stay in the moment. Because in the moment, none of that stuff exists. There aren't labels, there aren't assumptions, there aren't bad feelings. You're just in the moment. But that's predicated on two very significant things: a cultivation of self-love and an understanding of how to be in the moment and process your emotions as they come. And these are not things that are taught, and they're I think difficult because we're not talking about them every day with everybody, and we need to be.
In the moment, Linda,
Mm-hmm.
in the moment that I'm talking to Larry,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly feel like I'm being sucked into a whirlpool, a downward spiral. I'm thinking, get me out. I mean, there's another one, like in Lawrence of Arabia, where he
I
goes
know.
down.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that
So-
comes back to what Nanette was saying. A person that doesn't, that you're not in resonance with, or that you have issues in terms of whatever. Knowing when you identify, okay, this is not somebody to be around. So that, and if it's a label, yeah, he's Catholic, but that comes with a whole bunch of stuff. And if you're evolving, if you're vibrating at a higher frequency, and now you go and you're in the orb of someone who's evolving in a very low frequency, which I know, no judgment here, it's just an observation. To me, there's a lot of low frequency in Catholicism. It's not all low frequency, but there's a lot of it. So yeah, I wouldn't go to visit a neighbor if they were, as you've described, not because I judge them, not because there's anything wrong with them. They're a perfect expression of divinity in their own self. But that's not a vibration of divinity that I'm interested in being around. So I wouldn't go there.
Well, all of the monotheistic religions are the same in terms of judgment and evangelizing and being the light. All right? So by telling you that he's Catholic, what I was trying to say is that he's trying to be a light to me, as every Christian ever has. It's more based on the color of my skin and my accent.
And he knows you're a Muslim.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's trying to save you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you want to save him.
No, I just want to get away.
And I've got to add something here. If you take it down to break it down to a really simple level, and let's say you drink coffee and you leave the spoon in the cup, and you keep poking your eye with the spoon, some point you're going to say, "Get the spoon out of here," And it's not judging the spoon; it's just saying, "I got to use some." I'm not saying you don't have common sense, but that's where our common sense needs to come in and says, take the spoon out of the cup, just, and that's kind of what I was saying when I say I back away from somebody. I just take the spoon out and say, I'm not ready for that, And we're all on our own journeys. We all know that. So.
Well, some people have a bigger spoon and they hit the eye harder. And I'm getting that spoon out of there. And I'm sorry I mentioned the Catholic, but he's so darn proud of it. Nothing happens without him telling me about that and what a light he is. And I'm going to tell him he's a big spoon and a huge light. Thank you.
Oh.
We've all made
caught up in ego. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, we all, when you say he's Catholic, we've all made that assumption. We've all made assumptions as soon as you say that.
Right.
We've all got our thoughts about him. We don't know him, we've never seen him, but we've all got our own thought about him now. What the book says, today's quote says, everyone can love everything the moment they understand what they are doing and why. Over.
Yep.
I haven't got anything against Catholics. I've just got something against all Christians.
Me too.
Sorry, I don't like being judgmental.
Oh. Too funny. Well, we've only got 6 minutes left. Should we do our focus on whatever we're going to focus on?
Intention, right?
Yep.
Let me do it.
Let me do it.
A couple of sentences before we start. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Almighty God, here's our prayer. We're all judgmental, and we judge each other for being that way. And even though Linda's better than us, I'm sure she is too, because she does live and breathe and she's got blood. So we present ourselves to you to ask you to give us the wisdom to spiral upwards. Amen.
Like the spoon. Get that spoon out of there.
Let's take a couple deep breaths. Okay. Let's see what.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. For those who are. What?
I just want to remind everybody of what Neil always says. There's only one of us here.
Yep. Yep.
And, you know, too, I was going to say, and I, because I am Catholic, we didn't study the Bible. But there is a Bible passage that says something about pull the wood out of your own eye, or the thorn or something, before you try to fix the other person's eye or something like that.
It's the toothpick and the lamppost.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know.
But I don't have any of those.
You are so funny, Shabana.
Hysterical. Oh my God.
It was too funny. On that note, let's all just and love you all. And I was going to ask, for those that are celebrating Thanksgiving, do you want to? I don't mind meeting next Sunday, but somebody else might.
No, I can't make it next week. I'm at a wedding.
Okay.
I'm available either way.
Okay, let's plan on meeting unless you see like if I get a bunch of emails from people who change their minds, we'll leave it as is.
Good.
We'll see each other next Sunday, and happy Thanksgiving to those who are celebrating.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Peace.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love
All right.
you.
Love you guys.
Love you
Bye
too.
bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.